Hi everyone, welcome, either first time or welcome back, hopefully for most of you all, to this video. So we're going to work through this section 2 of the Eller must-knows. I know if you watched the first video, I talked about it being 2 total videos, but we decided to change that a little bit and just shoot a video for each of these sections. So notice that I've already shot one for section 1, and if you want a refresher, you can go watch it using this link up here. Right now, I'm going to shoot video 2, so I'll update this along with the times once I get done with it. But we figured it'll help break things up a little bit. That way you don't have to sort of sit and maybe watch for longer than you can keep your attention. So you can kind of go piece by piece. So this, I'm just going to work through the common formulas. It'll probably be much shorter than this first video. And you'll be able to find this link right here when hopefully you download it. So working through this, please download the credit card data. So if you're working from section 1, I recommend closing that data and then reopening. So I wanted to shoot all these so that you could start from scratch at the beginning of any section. So all that stuff that I did in the first one, I've gotten rid of. So I'm just working with that kind of raw data that you can download from D2L now on this video. All right, so let's kind of go through here. This one's a little bit more primarily formula based. So some common ones that you can use. So we're going to start off with average, min, max, and round. And then I'll come back to these and talk about how it might be a little bit easier to use later on the data analysis toolpack. But simple commands can be relatively easy. So let's just kind of go through here. So average, we could use this in a lot of different spots you can kind of play around with. I'm going to go with, I'm on this demographic sheet. And something that I might want to know, again, I think it's very important to always know my data before I start working with it. So a nice thing would be to know, like in the data, like what is the average age, what is the minimum age, and then what is the maximum age. And let's practice from video 1. Like I hate that these don't do this automatically, so I'm just going to sort of double click and fit it. And then I'll probably make these bold. And then it's relatively easy. So if you want the average age, Excel has an average command. It's just equals AV, and so you have to type the word. A lot of students I see, well, they'll type AVG and be like, well, it's not in there, and I wish it was like that, but no, Excel's not like that. So you have to type the word, and as you keep going through, you should sort of see these start popping up. You can type out the word, or like once this pops up, you can kind of double click it, and it kind of sets it up. Again, it doesn't matter. It's not case sensitive, and you have to tell it like, well, what do you want the average of? And so you could do this, comma, this, comma, this, comma, and like, holy hell, that's going to take us forever. But if you just select the whole range, so if you click on this first one, and again, the keyboard shortcuts are really, really nice here. Don't drag down, please. It'll take you forever. On the PC, it's hold Control and Shift, and then use the down arrow key. On a Mac, it's just Command and Shift, and then the down arrow key. And then, right, you've told it the range, so just close your parenthesis and hit enter, and then go up to the top. And notice it says, okay, the average age is 35.42 years old in the data, which is nice. But let's say you want the range, so you want the minimum. So the same kind of concept, it's just equals, and then you type min. And this one's just min. I don't think, yeah, you can't even type minimum. So just min, and as I highlight over it, it says returns the smallest number in a set of values and ignores illogical ones. So you just double click, or again, you can just open the parenthesis, and same process. So click on the first age, do Command Shift down, that highlights it all, just hit enter, or you can close the parenthesis. Okay, minimum age in the data is a 21-year-old, and then we can do max for maximum, so I'll double click. Actually, I'll just write it out so I can show you equals max, and then open max, open parenthesis, and then again, click here, Control or Command Shift down, hit enter. All right, you scroll up, there's the min and the max. Another feature is round. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to report an age as 35.41. So let's say you just wanted the whole number. It's relatively easy here, you can just do 35, but what if this number updates, like if you get more data or something, and you just want to use a command? So the round command is really, really nice in that sense, in terms of, so there's, I want to say 2 ways you can do this. So first thing is you can click here and do like up here in the number, on the home tab. If you do this, and so I want to decrease the decimals, I can just decrease, 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 and it goes to 35. But notice that full number is still in there. Like, let's say you wouldn't want to like use that for a calculation or something like that. What you can do is just equals round, and it tells you, like, rounds a number to a specific number of digits, and you get to tell it. So you can do round, and you could do, well, what number do you want to round? So comma, and then how many digits do you want to rest it to? Like, well, 0, right? If I want to round to the nearest whole number. So if you close the parenthesis and hit enter, it'll do 35. And if you don't want this, you do something like this. Let's say if you wanted 2 decimals, again, you could do, equals round, and then click this, and then comma, let's say you wanted 2 decimals. All right, close. It didn't do it. Oh, it's because I'm dumb. So watch, so equals round. I'll do this, comma 2. And I made the mistake of using this before. So if you want 2 decimals, you have to do something like this. And notice that if you keep adding them out, it'll say that they're 0. When in reality, it's not. But you can't be messing with it like that. You can do the opposite way, which I think is relatively cool. If for some reason, like, you wanted it just to the nearest, like, tenth of a year, like 30, 40, 50, you can actually go negative. So if you do -1, it'll actually like pretend that you're rounding off of this 5, this second or the number to the left of the decimal, right? And 40, because 3 is going to round up with the 5. So it's like, oh, nearest whole number is 40. So those are relatively easy. If we just want to practice a little bit, we could go over here and let's say maybe I want average credit limit. Let's do all 3. So let's do average. Let's do average credit limit, minimum credit limit, max credit limit. And we want to round it, so we'll round it later. And again, you might want to do this on another sheet, but I'm just going to show it here because I haven't talked about linking sheets yet. So we'll just do equals average. All right, we'll click here, Control or Command Shift down, close our parenthesis and hit enter. All right, there's the average. Let's round this to the nearest dollar. So equals, actually, let's round it to the nearest, let's do dollar and then, or no, hundreds of dollars. So let's do the nearest dollar, so this, comma, I want to round to 0 decimals. Okay, there's the nearest dollar, but then we can do equals round, and I'll open the parenthesis and I'll click this number. Let's round to the nearest hundreds. So the tens is right here. Right, so I would actually have to do -2, right? Because I'm going 2 to the left, and so if you hit enter, right, it rounds it to 5,600, which I think is pretty cool. And kind of you can do the same thing. So let's do. I'll show you another trick. So minimum. And again, I'll select the numbers, Control or Command Shift down. Let's do the maximum, so equals max. All right, and I'll do this, Control or Command Shift down. All right, we can go there. And then the nice thing about like these formulas are, it's not the round to the 0 decimal is not going to matter. Is if we drag this formula to the right, it'll keep moving so long as this isn't locked. And we haven't actually talked about locking cells. Not sure where I'm going to put that. Maybe section 4. It can be super useful. So what I'm going to do is I'll just drag this across. So bottom right corner. All right, so bottom right corner, notice a little square. My cursor changes. If I drag to the right, it looks like nothing happened because, well, duh, like these are already round numbers. But if I do it this way for to the nearest 100, you'll notice this rounds to 300. This rounds to 3,300. Maybe if we wanted to do the nearest 1,000, we could do -3, something like that. Oh, I wanted nearest 10,000. It's kind of weird. -4. Right, around to 30,000. So again, some just useful, easy, relatively easy commands. I'm going to delete these because I don't think we need them. So again, practice. Let's highlight across these, or you can click, hold Shift, and click highlights, and then just delete. We'll go through there. So average, min, max, round. I think those are really useful. The next one are if commands, nested if commands, which are just multiple ifs, and then or/and commands. So the easy way to do, where we're going to look at if commands to start off is this default column. So right now I have this column that says, did the person previously default on their payment? I'm going to fit this column again, so go between these two and double click just so it fits. I hate how that looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the text, and then I'm going to close this a little bit. And then I'm going to double click here to fit. Right. Hey, notice we're putting everything together. It's nice. And I want everything in the center here, so I'll center it. And so this is kind of hard in terms of if we want to use this for analysis. Like Excel doesn't do very good with numbers or with words. We want it in numbers. So what you could do is let's copy this and paste it, and I'm gonna fit this a little bit better. And let's just categorize these. So let's say if you've been in any stats class, you would want to say anyone that defaulted gets a 1, anyone that doesn't default gets a 0, so a no. So you could do 0, 0, 0, 0, all these no's, and then when you see a yes, type 1, and do that 30,000 times and waste a bunch of time. We don't want that, so let's not do that. So let's clear the contents. And so let's use an if command. So it's just saying that's easier to walk through. So we'll just do equals if, and then we'll open a parenthesis, and again, so I'm going to scroll this way so we can kind of see. It's saying, okay, what do you want to test first? So we have to say what criteria are we looking at? So what I want to do is if this cell equals, and if this was a number, I wouldn't need to, I could just type the number, but because it's a word, a common thing in Excel is if we use words, we need to use quotes. So I'll use the quotes, and if it equals no, right, and then close quotes. So there's the logical test. So if that cell equals no, right, and then we'll do a comma, value if true. So what number do I want to return if it equals no? Well, in this case, I want it to be 0, so I'll do 0. And then comma, that's a period, comma, value if false. So if this equals anything besides no, what do you want it to return? So in our case, we just have no or yes, so this one's relatively easy. So if it's not no, give me a 1. And so let's close the parentheses and hit enter. And we'll notice, well good, no, and it gave me a 0. Perfect. Now let's double click this down, don't drag, so click on the cell, wait, go to the bottom right corner, your cursor will change, double click, and let's just check. So all of these no's are 0, and then boom. All right, we have a yes, and it gave us a 1. Now we can use this a lot easier in our analysis. So if commands are really, really nice. And you can do a lot of different things with them. So simple ifs, you can play around and do whatever you want. And it can be anything else. So let's say I didn't want 0, 1. Let's say I wanted words. So I'm going to leave this. Let's do another column. So just copy and paste. And let's just say we want to change the words. So we'll do equals if, nice practice. Well, if this cell equals, again, the quotes because it's a word, no, comma. Well, if it's no, what if I wanted the answer to be did not default? So if, again, where we want words back, we have to type quotes. So again, so I'll say did not, let's see, D-E-F-A-U-L-T, right, default. All right, so that's if it says no, and then comma. Well, what if it says anything else but no, i.e. yes in our case? Well then, again, quotes, I'll say yes, or we'll say, well, let's just say defaulted, something like that, or yes, default, whatever you want. It's kind of up to you. All right, and close the quotes. And we'll close the parenthesis and enter and say no. All right, so no, we changed it to not default. Again, double click this, and now it defaulted, right, defaulted with all our yeses. All right, so you can use this a lot of different ways, and there's sort of hundreds of different ways. So basic if commands are useful. Nested if commands are the same thing, but inside one another. We were pretty lucky in terms that this only has 2 categories, yes or no. Well, what if it didn't? What if it had more categories? Or if we wanted to sort of establish different thresholds. So let's say we go back over to credit limit. So we're moving on. Let's do the nested if command. So this will be more practice. And then we want to do, let's say I'm going to insert a column here. So I'm going to right click, insert. Again, if you're not comfortable with that, go back and watch the first video. But let's say, instead of, your boss wants you to define, credit limits as low, medium, or high, something like that. And so you could, let's title this credit limit type. And again, it doesn't matter. And let's say you set some thresholds. Let's say under, let's see what'll work with this data. Let's say under 1,000 is a low credit limit. And then if it's between, I don't know, 1001 and let's say 7,000, it'll be a medium credit limit. And then anything greater than 7,000 will be a high credit limit. So that has three categories, right? So we're going to need a nested if command. So what we're going to do is we'll start the same way. So we'll just do equals if, and this follows a logical order. So let's start with low, then medium, then high. And so let's say if this cell, because again we're just checking this person, is less than 1,000, again no words, so I'm using numbers, so I don't need the quotes, comma, what do I want it to give me back? Well, I want to define this as, so I'm going to do a word here. I'm going to say low, let's just say low, right? Or low limit, whatever you want. I'll say low limit. So it's a word, so I'll do low limit, and then close the quotes, and then comma. What's the value if false? So if this is not true, what do you want it to do? Well, rather than just give it a value, what we're going to say is, okay, if that criteria isn't met, go look at another if command. So just start typing if, open parenthesis, and say, okay, what's our next order? So if it's not less than 1,000, go look at this new thing. So now our new is written the same way. So we'll say if this cell is now less than, what do we say, 7,000? I think it said 7,000. So I'll say less than 7,000, right, comma. Well, what do I want that? Well, that's a medium limit person. So I'll do the quotes and I'll type medium limit and then close the quotes and then comma. You could write another if command, but since we only have low, medium, high, if you go through here and say, okay, if it's less than 1,000, give it a low. If it's not less than 1,000, go look at this command, which then says, okay, if it's less than 7,000, give them a medium limit. And then comma, if that isn't true, so if it's not less than 1,000 and it's not less than 7,000, what we're left with is anyone greater than 7,000. So we're done here. So we can say for this, if both of those two previous arguments are false, call those high limit people. And close your quotes because again, it is a word. And then close your parenthesis. And notice that we have two open. So Excel is really I guess useful in terms of when I close this parenthesis, notice and again, you might have to look over in front of here, this little thing is going to highlight. It's color coded as well, but it's harder to see kind of when I'm up close. So if you close that parenthesis, it tells you, so let's see, it tells you or this one kind of highlights up. And then notice I still have one open, so I need to close one more. Usually if you forget, Excel will try and hey, you forgot a parenthesis and put it in there for you. Sometimes it doesn't. So we have this if command open and the first one, so we needed two parentheses to close. Now hit enter, and notice this person was between 1,000 and 7,000, so they got the medium limit. And now let's double click down and just check and make sure it worked. So all of these people were in our medium limit range. Boom, greater than 7,000, okay, high limit, it worked. Same thing, less than 1,000, low limit. So that is really, really useful. You also could do different educational categories, which we'll talk about later. You can use simple if commands, or you can combine it with or and. So that's what I'm going to talk about next, and we'll get some more practice coming back. So I'll show you another way to write this command to maybe save you a little bit of space or get creative with the and or command. It's up to you. Maybe some people aren't comfortable with the process of elimination that we walked through, so we can actually set up a bracket of between 1,000 and 7,000. It might be useful in sort of other scenarios. So I hope that's sort of at least an intro. So the nested ifs are really, really cool. And nested ifs is what we're also going to work on the next one. So the and or command. I haven't ever used or and outside of an if command. You all might have other reasons where you have, but please let me know if you do. So what we're going to do, so let's move on to the and or command. So what I'm going to do is first, let's get rid of this because I don't care about it anymore. So I'll just delete those because it doesn't really matter. You could also have done clear contents. And so let's do or first. And so right here, you've got three different educational levels. You can scroll down in the data. I kind of already know it. I know that there's only three. Graduate school, high school, so university, graduate school, and high school. But let's say you wanted to simplify it into two categories. Let's say college or less. And then we could say graduate school. And then we'll do this a couple different ways. First, we'll do it numeric. So what we want to do is, let's say we want to combine our high school and university people into one. And so let's do yes, no as our output. So yes, they have a college degree or less, or no, which will mean they have more. But we'll use an if command. So first off, we'll do equals if. All right, we'll close the parentheses. And we're going to want to return our value if true, our yes value, if one of two things are met. If this cell equals university, or if it equals high school. So what we can do is, for the logical test, we're going to say, check for two things, and if either is true, we're good. So I need to delete this, and so I'm going to start with or. So or checks, again, it tells you, checks whether any arguments are true and returns true or false. Based upon that, we won't have to worry about true or false because we're going to specify what we want. So we're going to do if or, and we're going to say if this cell equals, and again, quotes. Let's go logical order, high school or university. So I'll do quotes, high school. And then comma, or, so it's saying, or if this cell equals, and then university. And again, in quotes because they're words. And then we can close the or command. So it's saying if either of these things are true, comma, and we'll say, again, you can specify however you want. We'll go yes, all right, and then comma. If it's not true, put quotes, no, and then close the quotes. All right, and I still have to close my parenthesis for that if command, and let's see if this thing works. So I should get a yes here, right? So I hit enter, yes. And now, if I double click this down, right, or if you try to, right, notice that it doesn't work. This is a great learning, and I messed it up on purpose. Well, maybe not on purpose. Maybe a little bit on purpose. Right? If you try and double click this, right, you're like, why is this not working? Well, notice that you have this blank column here. Right? Double click down only works if you have data. You can still drag, but again, I don't like to drag, so I'm going to do Control or Command Z to undo. All I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to just do delete. And now, because it's next to data, the double click works. And so I'm going to double click. And now, so university, so yes. So graduate school, no. Perfect. And then anyone with a high school is yes. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And then the graduate school, we can do two different types of if command. We can go normal, so we can go equals if. So if this cell equals, and then we'll need graduate school. We have to type exactly how it looks in the data. And then we'll do comma. So if it's graduate school, say yes here, comma, words no. And again, I'm hoping you're getting a little quicker. Close the quotes and hit enter. And so clearly this is going to be no because that person's a college or less. So these ought to be flipped. If you don't want to do it that way, you could use the if command citing this now, right? Because we've kind of simplified it. So I'm going to delete this, just a little more practice. Equals if. And so if this cell equals the word yes, we'll do, okay. If that's true, this is kind of weird. I probably wouldn't want to do it this way. That means it's not a grad school person, right? So we'll do no, and then comma, if it's false. So if it doesn't equal yes, that means we want it turned yes because it means a grad school. I ain't going through there. So I don't love that one, but you could just reference either one. So I wanted to show you kind of both of those. So I hope that's relatively equal, relatively common sense or straightforward. Maybe not common sense because I don't like that second one. Okay, now let's move on to the AND command. And again, I'm going to use this with an if command. In a couple different ways, just so again we get some practice. Let's delete these because I don't think we need them anymore. And let's say you wanted to like, I don't know, split the categories out. Like maybe you want a column that says like, let's start easy. So we'll do female, university, graduate, and then a male, male university graduate. So again, I'm going to highlight these and double click just to make them fit. And all we want is if it is a female university graduate, give me a yes. If it's not, give them a no. Right? So if it's anyone else, so if it was a male university graduate, I want this column to be no. Or if it's a female high school graduate, I would want to know. So I'm very, very specific. So I need two conditions to be met. I need the gender to be female and the education status to be university. So this is where we need the if command with an and. So if you do equals, if, and open parentheses, and now for our logical test, again, we need two things to be true. And it's not either or, it's both. So this is where we use the and command. So just type and again, checks whether all arguments are true. So we'll open a parenthesis, you can double click, anything like that. And we need to specify what they are. So I want, so female university graduate. So I want if this cell, right, equals, and again, quotes for words, right, female. So I need that to be true. And I need the person's educational status, so this cell to equal, and then quotes, let's see, university. All right, and then close quotes. And so I need both of those to be true. So comma, or close that parentheses on the and. So there's our logical tests. It's now two of them. And we'll do comma. Well, if that's true, again, let's change it up. Let's say, I don't know, what do you all want to do? Whatever you all want to do, put it in here. I'm going to do, let's do true, false. So I'll say true, and then close parentheses, and then comma, words, again, quotes, false. And you all can do whatever you want. And then we'll close that parenthesis and hit enter. And hopefully this is a true, right? So true. Yes, this person is a female university graduate. Let's think down here. So this is a female, but the education's grad school. So I'm hoping when I click this down, this is a no. All right, same thing here. Well, this is a male. Well, that condition's not met, and so that ought to be a no. So let's see if our thing worked here. It's always like an MOT, kind of drum roll thing. All right, double click it, and notice sort of all the falses, and then I just check like a true female university. And so it's only true for all of those, and again, I might center these just to make them look a little bit better. All right, so let's practice. Maybe pause and see if you can do the male one. I'll go through this one quick. So I'll do equals if. All right, and I'll say if this cell equals, and then quotes, oh, I need the and, duh, I need two things. So I need the and command, open parenthesis. I'll say if this equals, all right, in the parentheses, male, all right, and then comma, I also need this cell to equal university, and close quotes, and then close the parenthesis. And then comma, again, let's change it so it's not true, false. Let's say, I don't know, you can call it male graduate, male college. And then comma, what do you want it to be if it's false? Well, then quotes, I don't know, non-male. Let's do other. Quotes. And again, this doesn't matter. It's how you all want to set it up. If you want to do whatever you want. And so this first one, I better get other, right? Because I'm just setting it up in this first cell because I want to be able to double click it down. So I'm saying, is this person a male university graduate? Well, no, right? It's female. I do it up here first because once I hit enter, right, it'll say other, thank goodness. And now I can double click it down, and then anytime it finds a male with the university, right, so male university, it says, okay, male college. And so I'm writing it up here. A lot of people get confused, like, well, why didn't you just like put it, like, why didn't you have to go down here and set it like that? Well, I like to do it at the top, and then once you double click it, you can kind of specify sort of however you want. Another way to use the and commands, just more practice, is let's go back here and let's rewrite this credit limit type. So let's like do the exact same thing but with an and command, just to kind of show you how inequalities can work. Like let's say you had a bunch of them and you didn't want to write out a bunch of stuff. So let's first delete this, or clear the contents. So Control or Command Shift down, and then practice. So you can either right click and do clear contents, or that sort of top part or right part of your keyboard, just hit delete and it'll clear everything in there. And then we're going to go the same way. So my cutoffs are going to be 1,000, 7,000, and then greater than 7,000. And we're going to get the same thing. It's just a different way to do it. Again, there are hundreds of different ways to get to the same answer in Excel. So it's all about sort of figuring out what you like best or what you think is the most efficient. So what we're going to do is we start with equals if. And again, let's say if this cell is less than 1,000, comma. Well, if that's true, again, I want low limit. Yep. And then comma. Well, again, I need to say, like, I've got 3 tiers, so I'm going to say, okay, well, if that's not true, go look at another if command. And then we'll open the parentheses, and we'll say if, right, well, it could be 2 things. It's if B2, or this cell, looks B3, is greater than 1,000 and less than 7,000. Or let's do less than or equal to, because I'll show you another how to do that. And so what we can do is, so now what I have to do is, I'll do an and command, and I need 2 criteria to be met. So I'm going to do this has to be greater than 1,000, and then comma, I also need this to be less than or equal to, ta-da, less than or equal to. That way you're getting the bounds. A lot of people, if you do less than here, and the next one is just greater than, you miss anyone that has a 7,000. And so I'll show you, we'll play around with the data, what that looks like. So less than or equal to 7,000. And so I'll close the and. So if that's true, comma, that person is going to be a medium limit. So I'll do medium limit, again, in quotes, because it's words. You can set it however you want, again. And then comma, you could write another if command, but because we're at the top end, we don't really have to. Like, if this isn't true, so if it's not less than 1,000, or if it's not greater than 1,000 or less than 7,000, well, everything else has to be the high limit, right? So high. Oops, high limit. Close the parentheses. And again, I need to close the parentheses on the first if. So I'll show you, like, let's say I just forgot. If I hit enter, Excel is going to be like, oh, we found a typo and it's trying to correct. You'll notice they just put a parenthesis on there, so I'll just hit yes and it fixes it for me. All right, and this is a medium limit person. All right, and so I'll double click it down and go through and we get the same thing. I said the and can be used for those greater than or equal to kind of things. I know that those are somewhat problematic or have been in the past. And again, why I threw that warning in there is, so right now how it's set up, I'm going to just change this person's credit limit so you can see what's happening. So if I change this to 7,000, this shouldn't change. It should be a medium limit. And if I went 7,001, hopefully it's going to change to high limit. Perfect. If I went in here, let me make sure. I'd have to change it. So if you did let's say you did another one. So this actually works because we did process of elimination. Oh, I messed it up. So I made the mess up because I have problems. So notice where I'm going to have problems. So this is a really great thing because I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. So notice this is less than 1,000, and then here I said greater than 1,000. So right now I don't have 1,000 in there, right? And so notice, watch let's see what happens if I change this to 1,000. Oh, it's setting that as a high limit. That's a huge problem, right? And it's doing what it told me. It said, okay, less than 1,000, okay, it's a low limit. If it's greater than 1,000, but less than or equal to 7,000, well, it's medium. If it's anything else, it's high. Well, okay, anything else, I didn't tell it what 1,000 actually was. So you have to specify here. So maybe you want less than or equal to 1,000. So if you did that, if you hit enter, now it'll do low limit. So I'm going to undo that really quick. I'll show the other option. So Control or Command Z. You can just delete the equal sign. What if you wanted everyone 999 and below? So what I could do is you could do greater than or equal to 1,000. So then your 1,000 people are going to be in the medium limit. It's just however you want to set it up. So yeah, be very careful. Clearly, I was dumb and didn't do it. So I'd probably put my equal sign here. All right. So be very, very careful with those inequality signs, which is problematic in the and sign, because if we did it before, we just did less than 1,000 and then less than 7,000, and so the other way we wrote it would have been a little easier. So when you add another command, it makes life just a little bit more complex that you kind of get to play around with. And so that's good practice with the and command, and I hope that sort of is helpful. Okay, let's move on to the last big one, the last sort of set of common commands. So count and countif, and then sum and sumif. So let's just do. I don't know that count is super. I don't love count. I'll say that. Like other people do, but I like countif. I think it's more useful. But count can work. So count is relatively easy. It just says like how many things have you highlighted. So in this case, we could say like, let's say I wanted to easily, and this is a short one, we'll do more practice, like number of clients. And so I could just do equals, here I'm going to do this in another, I'm going to delete this and I'll do it in D. So let's just do, like you're trying to do some summary statistics or something. So number of clients. And all you do is equal. So if you do the count command, so it counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So if you want numbers, use count, and this one's easy. So I'll do count, and then I'll start with the first client, and then Control or Command Shift down, hit enter, and it's like, hey, you had 10 clients. It's easy for small ones. Like what I usually do is, maybe it's more useful when you're updating data or something like that, but like another way is if you highlight all of this, notice down here at the bottom, it does some cool things for you. So I'm pretty sure this is on Macs and PCs, and I can't zoom in, I'm sorry, but down here you'll notice it gives me the average, which we don't care about the average of CLID, but it gives us count. It's like, oh, you've highlighted 10 things, and it knows its number, so it's actually added it up and given us the average as well. If you have cells that have like words in them, so you can't do that with count, I don't think. Let's try it. So I'll do just same thing. I don't know, clients. And so we do equals. If we just tried count, and again, I haven't tried this, so I'm going to click on the names, content shit down. Yeah, it's going to say 0 because count is just numbers. If you have words, it's just the next one, so count A. All right, so it counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty, so they contain something. So again, I'll double click, and then I'll select this and hit enter, and it gives us 10. Another thing that's interesting, so maybe you're like looking for blanks or something like that. So another form of count is count blank. It'll count the number of empty cells in again like that you specify. So let's say I did this. Hopefully it's going to tell me 2. Like, oh yeah, something like that. So count is going to be pretty useful. It just like counts things. Again, I like that the bottom does it. So I'm going to delete this. Let's go a little more complicated. So here's the full client list. So if I wanted to like understand like how many clients I wanted, I personally would click here and do Control or Command Shift down, and then I've highlighted all this, and at the bottom it tells me, okay, you've highlighted 24,332. Like I have that many clients. Here's the average. Here's the sum. You can use commands for all of those as well, but it's kind of up to you. Like let's make sure. So again, let's insert a row, and I'll just say, again, I'm doing this really ugly. I would never do it like this. I'll probably do it on a new sheet, but number of clients. Again, you can do equals count, and so open a parenthesis or double click and then click there, Control or Command Shift down, hit enter, and it'll tell me like 24332. All right, so relatively neat. It counts pretty easy. I like count if. So let's say like you're back over here. We're going to our defaulting here, and we say, well, let's say I want to know like let's say number of clients that have defaulted. Alright, and then here I'm going to put this here at Control X. I'm going to cut this and paste it here. Alright, I'm going to unwrap the text. Sorry, I just don't think that looks nice. So I'm going to do this over here, and then we'll fit this cell. Alright, so number of the clients that have defaulted, and then let's do another one like number of clients who have not defaulted. And again, I'll bold and I'll do this. And so what we need here is we need to count all the times, and because we've created these 3 columns, we can do it in 3 different ways. I'll go with the original data if that's what you're working for. So I want to count how many times I see yes in all of this data, because that says they defaulted. So I'll do count if. All right, and so it's just like an if command. So you start off and you're saying, well, what's the, it's kind of a little bit different. So first we're going to select our range. So again, I'll click here, Control or Command Shift down, and then I like to go to the top. You could sort of start writing up in your toolbar. All right, but that's my range, so I'm going to go up to the top using the toolbar. All right, and I'll do comma. Well, what criteria am I looking for? So again, be careful. I think, let's try it. So this is a word, but I'm going to try no quotes. So if I did no, I close that, hit enter. It's going to say 0 because, again, it's not looking for a word. So remember, whenever we do words, make sure you have quotes on the outside. And then you hit enter. Boom! Right? I've got 18,953 clients that have defaulted. Well, damn, right? Damn, right? That's a lot. Well, let's see how many have not defaulted. So equals, so again, count if, and then open parenthesis. And then again, I have to select my range, so Control or Command Shift. Ah, I'm dumb. I flipped that. I'm sorry. So have defaulted, right? I want yes here, right? I was like, man, that's a lot. So yes. Okay, we've had 5,000. Now have not defaulted. I'm so sorry. But everyone makes mistakes. It's an easy fix. It's just make sure you're paying attention. At least catch yourself before you do it. I do it all the time. So same thing. So count if, so Control or Command Shift down, and then comma, and then quotes. So have not defaulted, so I'm looking for no in the quotation. So hit enter. That's it. Have it. And then what if you want total clients? So a review of all this. So total clients. You could add manually, just do equals, so this plus, all right, this plus this. So I'm using the arrow keys. Or the next command is sum, right? Equals sum, and it will add stuff for us. So sum, and then these two, right, and hit enter and do there. So it adds them all together. It just adds, just sum is just another like way to add. Let's see. Other ways, just practice. I think practice is the best way to do this. Let's change up. Let's go to the demographic sheet. I'm going to get rid of these two columns that we created. If you didn't create them, you don't have to worry about it, but you can delete them. And let's say you want, let's do easy. So let's do total clients. But then you also want a breakdown of total female clients, total male clients. All right, so I'm going to bold these, and then I'm just doing stuff to make it feel better. So first, total clients, let's just do the count command. So equals, count. Let's do, you could do the .client ID, but let's try with the words one. So count A, and then open parentheses, and like we'll just select the gender column. So Control or Command Shift down, hit enter. Okay, we got this many clients. Well, what if I want the female clients? So I'm just going to count whenever I see a female as 1 here. So we're going to do this. We need to count if, so equals count if, right, open parentheses, and then we can do, the range is first. So I need to do this, Control or Command Shift down, and then comma. Well, again, I'm looking for female clients. So I'll open my quotes, and I'll do female, and then close quotes. All right, close the parenthesis and hit enter. All right, so it looks like I have 14,781. You could get male clients because we only have the 2 genders in this data. You could do, well, total clients minus the female is what we're left with, or just practice. Let's do the count if again. So count if, and then open parenthesis, and so again, same data range. So first female, Control or Command Shift down, and then comma, and then your quotes. So male. Close quotes, close parenthesis, and hit enter, and it counts that many. So we have a lot more women than men, it looks like, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So sum, again, you could add this. I don't have the credit limits over here. Let's see. Other ways you could practice count if. So married and single, education. Let's do the education one. Just again, practice. If you don't want, skip ahead. So let's do total. Let's go high school clients, total university clients, and then total grad school clients. And again, equals, so count if, so open parenthesis. And again, I want all of my education people. And then comma again, so it's a word. And so we need to type it exactly how it looks in the data. So high school, I don't think it's case sensitive. Let's check. So I'll do high school, close quotes, hit enter. Yeah, it's not case again. So I have 4,000 high school clients. Let's do university. So equals count if. So I'll double click, and this time, and again, it's not case sensitive. So select the data, comma, or command shift down, control shift down, and then comma. So we'll do university, close quotes, close parenthesis, and hit enter, and then equals. Again, you could do total clients or something like that, but let's just get practice. So count if, and then this. Shift down, and then comma. Right, so the next thing is criteria. So again, I need this to look like it is in the data. So graduate school. Close quotes, close parentheses, and enter. Got it. And so hopefully that makes sense. And then, hey, if we want to make sure this matches the total clients, let's sum up these three. All right, it matches. So making sure that we have everyone in there, which I think is really, really cool. Another, let's see, let's try sum if. So again, sum if is kind of the same if, as Countif. So let's do a credit limit if defaulted. That's not what I want. What do I want to sum if? Because I don't want to add up the credit limits. That doesn't tell us very much, right? So I don't know that there's a really good example of sum if in this data. I mean, one thing you could do is kind of like the same thing here. Let's say you made your default, or your defaulting was in numeric. So I don't know, you could sum up if all of them were, like if a person defaulted, if they didn't default. You kind of want the average. So let's do two commands. So let's say total credit limit of defaulters. And again, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but after we'll turn it into average credit limit of defaulters, right, something like that. So we'll do equals, so sum if, whoop. All right, so add the cell specified by given range or criteria. So we're going to sum, so we want to sum the credit limit. So first we select the data range, command shift down, and then comma, well, what criteria? What do we want? So, oops. That's not what I want. Oh, well, yeah, still working. I'm doing this backwards. So the range that I want to look in, sorry, I need to tell it what I'm going to look in. So first off, let's click on the range. I apologize. So here is where it's going to look first for that criteria. So I'll select the first one, Control or Command Shift down, and then comma. Well, what's the criteria? What's it looking for? So for us, we're looking for defaulted. So defaulted. So if it finds that, it's saying, okay, I need this piece, and then it's saying, well, where do you want to add? Well, I want to add the credit limits, right? So I'll go to the top. Go to the top here, and I'll do this, Control or Command Shift down. And I'll close the parentheses and hit enter. All right, and so if I added up all my people that defaulted, they had a credit limit of that. The total doesn't mean much to me because I don't know how many people defaulted. Like I need per person, so I can do equals, and then we have the total credit limit divided by the number of people that defaulted, so you could do that. You could also do like an if command with an average or something like that, but I think we can do that a little bit easier. So it looks like the average credit limit of our defaulters was around 4,000. Let's do the same thing, but for non-defaulters. So I'm just going to copy and paste this and put let's say non-defaulters. Right, and then same thing, so average credit limit of, again, this is defaulters, but I'm going to change it to non-defaulters. All right, so let's do a sum if, so equals, so sum if. So again, where do I want to look for the criteria first? So again, I got to click here, Control or Command Shift down, and then comma, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for, in quotes, because again, it's words, did not default, and then close quotes, and then comma, like, okay, if you find did not default, where am I looking? Like, what numbers am I going to use to add all this stuff up? So I'll go over here, and I'll select credit limit, Control or Command Shift down. All right, close parentheses, hit enter. All right, so now I have the total credit limit of my non-defaulters. Let's, again, I don't think it makes sense because we have different numbers. So let's do the average. So we'll do this, divided by, I had this many people, right here. All right, so it looks like our defaulters actually have a lower credit limit than our non-defaulters, right, which is interesting, something I would want to actually look into. I hope that's useful. The last thing we're going to talk about is the data analysis tool pack. So most of you all, if you took BDAT 277 already or you're taking it now, you should already have this. To figure out, just go to the data tab and look over here. It should say data analysis. If you're on a PC, it's a long process. So on the sheet here, I have the instructions, like where to, like how to install it on both a PC and a Mac. So you can go to that link and show you. I think it's easier on a Mac, but on a PC, I'll walk you through it. So you have to go to File. If you don't have it, if you have it, just chill for 30 seconds. All right, so go to File, and then you go down here to Options, and then you'll go to Add-ins. All right, and then it'll say Excel Manage Excel Add-ins. Hit Go, and then make sure you check the Analysis Tool Pack box. Hit OK. Sometimes if it doesn't show up, you're going to have to click off, like click Review or View, and then click the Data, and something that pops up. For Mac people, it's not in the Excel, so you're going to have to go to your top toolbar up here under, I think it's Tools, and then in that drop down, there's something like, it's called like Manage Add-ins or Excel Add-ins, and if you go down and highlight that over, it should like open a box or have like a little drop down with it, and just check on Analysis Tool Pack, and again, you might have to do change off the tabs and have it pop up. But I like the Analysis Tool Pack if I have like numeric things, because if you haven't taken any stats or don't want to do it, that's fine. It's just useful to understand your data. So let's say I wanted like some summary statistics of all of these bill amounts. I love the data analysis toolpath because if you do data analysis, if you click on it, you're going to get a little drop down, and it looks a little bit different on a Mac, but all of these things are alphabetical. We find descriptive statistics. All right, you can do OK. And then it's saying, okay, like, what do you want descriptive statistics of? Well, so I want all of this data, so let's practice. So I'm going to click in September, and then Control or Command Shift right, and it stops because there's a blank, and then Control or Command Shift down. All right, so that highlights all the data. We did have labels, so we want to check that. And then what do we want here? Well, we just want the normal summary statistics. And so if you hit OK, and it's going to think for a second. And again, it's a lot of data, so it might take just a little bit. Right, my Excel is sort of freaking out. All right, sorry, it took a little bit longer, so I paused the feed. And now, notice that it gives us like all of this stuff for each of the variables. I don't like that it puts them all together, so I'm going to insert a column like between all of these. So let's practice. So if I want to select individual ones, I'm going to click here and then hold Control and then click on E, G, I, K. All right, so just selecting those, and then if you right-click and do Insert, it'll shift everything to the right, or essentially it enters one in there. And now they're kind of separate. Again, I don't know why Excel doesn't like fit these automatically, but I would go across, and then to make these all fit, double-click. And now I know that these are bill amounts, right? So notice it created a new sheet. So if you had this, I might rename this and be like, all right, summary of bill amount data. And maybe you want to indicate to yourself that these are bill amounts again. So I'll insert a row. So right click, insert. And then again, I want this to all be sort of one row. So I'm going to highlight it all. And I'm going to go to home. And I'm going to do merge and center. And just tell myself, or I'm going to start typing bill amounts for several months. All right, and again, it's kind of ugly, so you can make it aesthetically pleasing. So maybe I'll change this to 16, not 11. I want this to be 16, and then let's highlight it in light blue and make the text white, something like that. And then maybe you want like different ones here. Like I don't know, like, I hate yellow so much. I love the color yellow. I hate highlighting yellow. So maybe maybe green, and then this one can be red, whatever. This is just so you can play around with it. But all it tells us, right? It tells us it's just an easy way to look. Like, well, the average bill in September was $16.93, 16.26 in August, 15.59. So you can kind of see a trend here. It looks like it's really declining in April, May, June, July. Like as the year gets going, the bills go up. So people are spending more and more, and it gives you a lot of other stuff like the minimum and maximum. Right, this person had already paid off a lot, and this person had a $32,000 bill. Like a lot of that. So this gives us a lot of information. I like the analysis tool pack. It just is a nice way to quickly look at data and maybe spot some odd things. You do have to be careful so it doesn't do well with words or anything like that. So that's where you might need those count or sum ifs, or if you change this type to then be numeric, it can help you. It's just you kind of have to know how to read it. So let's do one last one for this default one. So data analysis, descriptive statistics. I'm going to select defaults, control or command shift down, label, summary statistics, hit OK. And so how I would read this, so again, I'm going to spread this out. And again, I like to rename these just to it's just a habit. So especially when you get like 7 sheets open, you're like, oh shit, which one was sheet 1, 6, and 4, something like that. So this is telling me the mean was 0.22. Well, back here, right, remember the defaulting got a 1 and non-defaulting was 0. So how I would read that is, well, right, 22% of the clients defaulted at some point. Because each time they get a 1 if they defaulted, 0 if not, so 0.22 is the average, it means like that. The max is 1 because, yeah, I had at least one person, and then kind of same thing. The sum is cool, so it's only going to add up the zeros and the ones, so this would tell me, right, number of people who defaulted. And then the count is, well, how many total did you count? So that's with zeros and ones. So then I could find, right, number of non-defaulters is just whatever's left over. It just equals, well, it's the total number of people minus the sum, the number of people that are defaulting. So I had 18,953 that did not. Again, that's just kind of understand. I like data. I understand data. I hope you do too. I hope that's why you're sitting here watching it. But it's just different ways you can kind of go through and use things. That's the end of this section. Maybe take a break, hang out, and then come back and watch section 3. So this was kind of jumping into the basic commands. The next 2 sections are the advanced stuff. These are the things that employers. So these are expected. The employers, if you know the next 2 sections, you'll kind of blow their socks off, or you'll be able to do things 5 times as quick as a lot of other people. So check back in and with the next section, next video. And I hope this was somewhat useful.